What's up, crew? Welcome to another edition of Sourcing.
Woohoo!
We did a Walmart video, we did a Ross video. Both were extremely popular. Everyone wanted more videos like that. So here we are going to hit
Goodwill, our favorite store.
It's exciting. Today is specifically going to be sourcing for eBay. I personally do not recommend sending anything to Amazon that does not have a legit invoice or receipt with it. That is because Amazon sometimes likes to come after you and they're going to ask for proof of purchase. And if you have a Goodwill receipt, it's going to say electronics yellow or clothing purple. That's not going to fly in Amazon's world.
I don't like that so much. It's so weird.
If you have a higher risk tolerance, you can totally get away with it. Tons of people do. The chances of them coming after you for a used item is very slim, but it's not something I'm willing to do. So we're just going to be sourcing for eBay today and bring you guys along, show you exactly which categories we look for, what our profit margins are looking for. She's going to be doing clothing because I do not know clothing brands at all. So it's going to be a fun day. All right, so unfortunately, our Goodwills in the Portland area, we have a lot of them, but they're pretty spread out. So it's going to be a long day. We're probably
gonna be puddle jumping today, for sure.
We're gonna. What do you think? Like 20 minutes a store?
No.
30?
I need more like 40 minutes for a store, but I can handle 30.
Here's where it gets tough when you're sourcing is you have to, if you're doing a lot of
20
stores.
minutes, man.
Well, I'm looking at if we do 10 stores on the high end, right?
Yeah.
Our goal is to do at least 8 stores, which we're good with. But if we end up doing 10 stores, 40 minutes each.
I say quality over quantity.
Let's do the math. 400 minutes divided by 60. That's 6.6 hours. Drive time would be probably another 2 to 3 hours.
Yeah.
Lunch for an hour.
Yeah.
That's like a 10-hour day.
Full day. We'll
see. We'll play it by ear because some stores we're not going to find anything. And I hope that's the number one thing people take out of this is you can watch YouTube videos and Instagram profiles and all this kind of stuff and see all the wins that people post. But keep in mind, people usually post their highlight reels. You're going to see us just like in the other sourcing videos with Walmart and Ross. Every store we go to is not going to be a win. And that's totally fine. So we might only spend 10 minutes in the dud stores, but if we find a good store,
yeah.
I mean, we were just in, we were at the coast at a really good one. We spent like a whole hour in there. We could have spent 2 hours if we had time.
And no toddler. Which we do not have today.
Thank you, Grandma.
Thank you, Grandma.
So this is our Goodwill map area of kind of the general Portland area. We're not going to hit every single one of them. They're pretty spread out, but we're going to try to go to where the biggest condensed areas with these. So aside from that, we're just going to basically bring you guys along, show you our tips, our tricks, and our strategies, and hopefully you can take something out of it. So with that being said, time to go get some gas, head on out, make some money. The number one question people always have is, where do you go? What are my specific categories? So I'm gonna show you guys my exact route that I personally go for. Most Goodwills are gonna be set up the same way, so I usually go straight to the back to the electronics is my number one category. So we are gonna go see what we got over here. So I've learned over time, there are other resellers. So you have to play the role of not taking too much time just on one little section because you might miss something down here. So usually what I do is as you get more experience, you have an eye for certain types of items. So what I do is I do a quick walkthrough of the entire wall and then I'm cherry picking what I want to look up. That way I'm not starting just on this corner and doing my research on my phone and then I might miss something that's all the way down here. So I just go through real quick, cherry pick anything, put it in my cart, and then start to do my research. So number one item to keep an eye out for are definitely going to be VHS players. You can usually get these things. You can see this one is $5, so $5 to $10 on average for VHS, especially if you get the VHS DVD combos. Those things are going to be sweet. Yes, some Goodwills are going to be a lot more higher price. I have paid upwards of $30 for a combo out of a Goodwill, but it sold for over $100. So the higher your cost is going to be on any item, the higher the sell price is going to need to be. And I don't have a specific order of tips or advice I'm going to be giving, so I'm just going to throw a ton of stuff inside this video as I go along here. So this one, I've never seen one of these. I've seen turntables, but not this brand inside of this Goodwill before. So I'm just going to put up the eBay app here and type in the name, which is Stanton. And this one, you can see right here, T.52. So T.52. See what pops up. So you can see brand new, we've got a $300 listing. Some accessories. Now, I'm really not worried about what these are currently listed for. I want to see what customers are actually paying, so we're going to go filter. Sold. Done. I want to see what is actually selling. So one of these sold for $54 plus 25 shipping. And we've got another, someone took a best offer, but they had 63 shipping. We've got 92 plus 20 shipping. So safely, I'd say we can get about $60 to $80. So now you have to look at how much does it cost. Well, this one costs $50, so there is definitely not enough wiggle room in that one. All right, next we will look up comps on this. Now, the nice part about any electronic, they are always going to have some type of model number on them, so they're pretty easy to look up. It's not like clothing where you have to have an eye for brands and styles. Having a model number gives you the exact thing. What we're looking for here is a model number. Now, a lot of these different electronics, especially VHS players, they're going to have the model number usually right under it or on the corner somewhere. Some of them don't have it, but as we can see on this one, no model number is visible on the front, so every single one of these on the back panel will be where you can find all the information. So we can see right here, model number HRA56U. So HRA56U, search. Keep in mind this was a $4.99 cost. We can see these are what are currently listed, but I want to see what the solds are. So you can see 33 plus 45 shipping. We have a 60. This one had a box. We got 30 plus 40. We got a 60. So safely, we can say we can sell this for at least 50. So here's how I actually do the math. With eBay, you have about 13% for fees. You have your eBay fee, your closing fee, which is 10%, and then you have PayPal, which is 3%. So total about 13% in your fees. So what I do is I take the sale price based on what I think we can safely sell for, which is 50, times 0.87. Again, this is gonna deduct 13% of our fees. That leaves us with $43.50 gross. Now, I've shipped plenty of these before. This is a very light unit. I don't think this will cost me more than $15 to ship. That leaves us with $28.50 minus our $5 buy cost, so we can make about a $23.50 profit. And once you do find one that you want to get, two things to check. Shake it, because you'd be amazed how many times there is crap inside of it. And then test it by using one of these. That's why I like Goodwill, they always have one of these outlets. Now, you can only do so much testing in a store, so power on. So this does power on. So as long as it powers on in a store, that for me is good enough to be able to take home. And then I do fully test it with a VHS and mess around with all the buttons, make sure everything does work. So now keep in mind, everyone has different thresholds on what their minimums are. So I'm gonna spend $5 to possibly make a $20 net profit after fees and shipping my cost. So for me to spend $5 to make a $20 profit, that's good in my book. Other people may have a minimum of making $30 or $40 per sale. Totally up to you to play around with it. I recommend you start with lower margins in the beginning just to get your practice on, so you can learn how to actually create the listing, how to take the photos, how to create your title, how to sell it, how to ship it. Once you get more experience, then you can raise your standard on what your minimum is going to be. If you are really wanting to get out there and source and learn how to do electronics, then you literally will stand here and you are going to do the exact same process for every single unit you see on here. And here's where people are going to start saying, well, Chaz, that's going to take forever. That's a lot of time. Is it worth the money? I can make more out of a regular job. This is why most people quit, guys. I am able to come in here and find stuff and have an eye for it now because I have checked comps or comparisons on eBay on literally thousands of items. The more you do this, the better you're going to get at it. So in the beginning, it is going to be very time consuming, very repetitive, very, very tedious. But you got to come in here, check all the model numbers, and you'll start to get an eye for which kind of things are going to sell better and for how much. And this is going to carry over into things like garage sales or estate sales, which you may not feel comfortable pulling out your phone right in front of strangers and doing this. So by getting in here and practicing, the more you're going to be able to do this and practice with it and learn from it, you can walk into a garage sale and get an eye for the value of different types of DVD players, VHS players, stereo equipment, all this stuff you can kind of eyeball and get a good value for. All right, so check this out. Standard, fancy looking DVD player. All you do, guys, like this is as simple as it needs to be. Model number is right there. Toshiba model number. Plug it into your eBay app and you can see what these have been selling for. So this has been selling in good condition for over $100. Look, that one went for $175 plus 22 shipping. So I safely put this at least $125. But check this out. 20 bucks. So $20 cost. This does not weigh much at all, and it's got the instruction manual and the remote, so that's a huge bonus. So I think I can actually sell that for closer to like $130, $140, if not a few bucks more. All comes down to how quickly you want to flip it. So perfect example of, yes, it's a higher buy cost than the $5 one, but it also sells for a lot more. So I'm going to be definitely getting this. And here's another situation. Almost looks the exact same. Toshiba SDK 1000. This one is $10. Look up the comps, and the new one is selling for $30 plus 24 shipping, $5 plus 15, $35. So you can see that it varies model by model. So even though something might look the same, because those do not look that much different, always, always, always just run the model number, because you will be amazed at what you find sometimes. All right, so I want to point out this is not going to be common, so do not expect this to happen very often, but I'm really happy when it does. And this is what makes thrifting so fun. $7. Now I see WeFit boards all the time, but they're usually either out of the box or they are used. Picked up this box thinking this feels heavier than it normally is, because this thing is actually factory sealed. Now, anytime you find something you think might be factory sealed, always look really close to the factory sticker, because sometimes you'll see a secondary sticker underneath that has been cut and then they resealed it. This one has not been tampered with at all. And then of course you want to double check all the seams, make sure nothing was open up from the side. This thing checks out brand spanking new, which I am pumped for. Just for curiosity's sake, I already looked this up. This sells for over $80 on Amazon, but again, I'm not touching Amazon with anything from Goodwill. eBay doesn't sell for as much, but it's still going to be a nice flip. So if I filter down to just the new ones, under condition and new, I want to see what they're actually selling for. So we can see 65 plus 17 shipping, 48 plus 36, 50 with free shipping. So I'd say we can definitely do at least 60 to 65 minimum on this. And again, just to double check my numbers, if I sell this for 65 times 0.87 to take my fees out, that leaves me with 56 gross. Again, shipping estimates are just going to come from experience. You can always use a shipping estimator online, see if you can just guesstimate how much this is going to weigh and the dimensions. But I've shipped similar size and similar weight items like that before, so I know that on the high end, this is going to cost me like 20 bucks to ship. Also depends if I go USPS or FedEx. So that leaves me 36 minus my $7 cost. So I can make at least 29 profit on the minimum side. Now, if my shipping is not 20 bucks and it actually is 10, that's gonna be even better. So for stop number one, I am definitely happy. Okay, and here's the reality of life. I just got a phone call. Little man
going to be sick today.
He is not feeling good. Grandma just picked him up before we left the house, and he already wants to come home. So Trista is unfortunately going to say bye-bye to the video.
Bye, guys.
But we'll go out to the car. She'll drop some tips on clothing, and I know a tiny bit about some clothing, so I'll show you guys in another store. But Trista will give you some tips, and then we'll do a separate video specifically just on what she can do. Another quick tip too, get these IKEA bags. So nice to have, especially during garage sale season. Just throw everything in these. So we will do a dedicated clothing video separate from this one, so you guys get the full overview of live sourcing with this one. But for now, How do people source clothing when they go in there?
So our Goodwills are a little different than I think most of the country in that they price their clothing really high here. So I don't buy a lot of clothing from regular Goodwills. I actually go to the bins for most everything that I buy. I do like to go to regular Goodwills and sort through stuff, but I will only pick up anything that I could make minimum of $30 because most of like the sweaters are $8 here, dresses are $10 to $12. So it takes a lot of capital to keep that moving. And so the bins is a better solution for me, but I will pick up higher end brands that will flip for a higher dollar amount in the regular Goodwills. And you just have to, by trial and error, go through brands, right? It's time consuming, it's hard at first. Just start looking everything up. If it looks or feels quality, look it up. And you're gonna figure out what brands do well. And I could give you a list of brands, but they might not be doing well in 6 months. You know, I used to sell Eileen Fisher for a lot of money and now I don't sell it for as much. So do your own homework, do what works best for you. We have a lot of Patagonia and Pendleton and kind of those outdoorsy brands that do well and at a higher dollar. But maybe, I don't know, maybe Florida doesn't have those brands because you guys are in warmer climate. So learn your area, learn what works best for you, and just go for it. As you can tell, doesn't matter what category you sell in, a lot of it just comes down to that trial and error. Get in there and practice. That is how you get experience. Yes, watch the videos, look at the Instagram accounts, but don't get stuck in just research mode, okay? Eventually you need to just put in the hours that it takes of practicing to the point where you can walk into a store and without using your phone much, you can start to eyeball the value of different things sitting on the shelves. Number 2. This one is usually hit or miss. Some days are really, really good. Some days are really, really bad. All right, first find of store number 2. I love when I find stuff that just looks higher end. So this one definitely has a higher buy cost than I would like. It's $25, which is a little painful, but here's the comps we're looking at. Now, if this had the whole speaker set to go with it, $250, which is awesome. This one was definitely on the lower end, but I'm looking at these two comps right here. So I would probably price about $120. So let's just run the numbers real quick. If we sell this at $120 times 0.87 minus our fees, I would leave this at $104 minus, let's say this on the high end would cost me $30 to ship. Leaves us $74 minus our cost of $25. So that would leave us with about a $49 net profit from a $25 investment, which I am definitely good with, so I'm going to pick this one up. So I'm going to try to just throw a whole bunch of different types of products in this video so you guys can kind of get an eyeball of what we look out for. Remotes would be another good thing to keep an eye out for. They're usually pretty cheap, and people buy these as replacements all the time, especially when you get the name brand stuff like Sony. So luckily with the Sony ones, I usually have the model number right on the bottom there. So there's a $3 buy cost. And at only a $6 to $9 sell price, that's not enough room for margin. And after checking all the rest of them, those are all duds. So there's stop number 3. It's pouring down rain. So everyone who visits Oregon in the summer and you think, wow, it's so beautiful here, just remember we got about 8 months of this to make it beautiful. All right, so I'm at a crossroads where I am split because there's an equal amount of Goodwills on the east and the west. So now I have to determine which way I want to go because of timing. I've got about 3 hours until I got to be home. So this might actually turn into a 2 or a 3-part video because we have so many Goodwills around here and I don't have physically enough time to get them all done today. I think we might just continue doing Goodwill sourcing videos. So comment below if you would like to see more styles of these videos where we are actually going into stores, bringing you along with us and showing you what we're finding. All right, lunch is done. Here is the game plan. I just got done with that Superstore location. So I'm gonna head north. I'm gonna hit 1, 2, 3. I am not gonna do the outlet today. I'm gonna go to this one as well and end in Forest Grove.
And then I basically hit this road down on back to McMinnville. So as you guys can see, we live in a small town called McMinnville. So I've got quite a bit of driving when I go out and do my sourcing days. So this is why very rarely do I ever go out for just 1 or 2 stores. I have to make it worth the trip. So I usually hit a minimum of 5 stores when I go out. Sometimes it's Goodwill day, sometimes it's Walmart, sometimes I'll hit one entire city and hit every different type of store I can. All depends on time of year, what types of products I'm focusing on. Sometimes Goodwills are just duds and other stores like Walmart are killing it, so I'll focus on just Walmart. Other times Walmart sucks and Target is where it's at, so I kind of flip-flop and go based on what is going to have the most high demand product. So that's the plan for the rest of today, and in the next video I will plan on leaving the house a lot sooner and go hit all of these ones here. Bingo! You can tell when they just put stuff out. I'm gonna run comps on all of these, especially this guy right here. Let's hope we got some winners. All right, so here's an example of using to make a judgment call. I personally like to buy products that I'm seeing are selling multiple times per month. This one is only 10, and there's one sold listing in the last 90 days for 60 bucks. So you can take a shot at it and probably make $20 or $30 profit. Me, I'm gonna pass on this one because I like to see things that are selling consistently. 2 winners. These are the kinds of margins we're going for. So these were all duds because their average buy cost is 10 bucks, but their average sell price for most of these right here are only about 40. So I mean, you can take a shot at them. Like I said, if you're brand new and you just want to make like 10, 15 bucks on the sale, that's an easy way to do it. I am learning to cherry pick, such as these are 20. So even though they're a slightly higher buy cost, you actually have a higher sell price, which means higher profit. So I'm spending 20, but these two range between 80 and 100 sell price for used condition with no remote. Plus they're both just in really good shape as well. Found this Brother printer, which is a sweet deal. That sells for $100 used, and they only want 20 bucks for it, but that's gonna be a personal buy. Another product to keep an eye out for. Simple, portable CD players. Sony Walkman DE220, 5 bucks. There are sold comps between 20 and 30 bucks on these, and I sold plenty about the $25 range. Easy way to turn 5 into 10. Now with these, very common thing I'm gonna look out for is make sure the corrosion is not gonna be super nasty under there. This one's in really good shape. So should be able to turn 5 bucks into an easy 10, 15 profit. After electronics, I usually go down another aisle, which you can always find. Sporting stuff is right next to here. So this is usually the aisle which is like office supplies. So I usually will find all my toners hanging out in this aisle. This one is a dud for today though. Just go ahead and run you through all the other different aisles that I check. So water bottles, believe it or not, people will buy used water bottles. So you want to look for branded stuff, especially like Starbucks and some of the heavier duty BPA free ones. Just double check if they got any logos. Cool vintage stuff will be up here sometimes, so that's always something to look for. And then next up, I have been collecting baseball bats actually, which I do not see any in this store now, but also tennis rackets. So there are model numbers on these rackets, so go ahead and check those as well. Mitts, footballs, you can check the names on all of these and find some stuff you can flip out of the sports section too. So we got a little Louisville Slugger right there, a little tiny little league one. So there's gonna be model numbers on these. And now that I'm actually looking, here are the baseball bats. So these, let's pull one out and show you. Not all of them are going to be profitable, but MDL SK2 would be your Easton model number right there. And just check comps on here. Of course, we are not in season yet, but this is $7 to buy, and the average listed prices right now are between 20 and 25. So not enough margin on that, guys. Some of these other brands are worth a lot more though. So that's the key with sporting equipment. It's all based on seasons. It's the time of year. So in the off season, you can buy up this kind of stuff so cheap. I was buying up a ton of higher end baseball bats out of Goodwill's for $5 each that can retail reused for about 80 to 100. Same thing with your tennis rackets. You got to think of the time of year people are playing these sports. So in the off season, you can get them a lot cheaper, especially when you're going to estate sales, garage sales, and other methods too. And then books, of course, is always a fantastic category to look at. There's tons of YouTube videos by experts in sourcing books. So these you can send into FBA, no problem. Education, self-help, religion, reference, those are great categories to start with on these. So simply open up the eBay app or the Amazon Sellers app and just start scanning. And just for me personally, I kind of go through phases of types of products. So like lately, I've not been doing many books at all. Every now and then I start going in scanning books, but for now I'm just gonna pass on some of the books, and I know I'm leaving money on the table, but my primary category is gonna be my electronics, are number one for that eBay account that I'm running. Number 2 is going to be the office supply, especially ink and toner. Number 3 is going to be shoes, which we'll head over right now. We got the shoes. It's kind of going to be the same process unless you start to practice and get the experience where you can just eyeball stuff and just cherry pick. In the beginning, you have to look up most of these to learn different styles and whatnot. And most of you should know by now, but if you don't, because this is a beginner style video, your style codes for Nike are going to be this right here. 308475 is the style of the shoe. Dash 400 is going to be the colorway of the shoe. And yes, believe it or not, people buy used conditioned shoes. They're pretty simple to clean up, make them look better. Obviously, the higher the price, the better quality you want to make sure that they are. So you go through, each tag is going to have its own. Here's another Nike. You just go through and start running those comps. You're going to have Reeboks and Adidas and Skechers. They all kind of have their own variation of the code, but most of them are going to be right on that tag. But for clothing, as I have definitely mentioned, I am not great at clothing, but I do know enough. Usually just at the men's section, especially when you start to find stuff like this, cycling gear, anything that's sports specific. These are usually good ones to look up. And what you're going to do for clothing, because there's no model number most of the time, you're going to look up the brand and then the style of clothing that it is. The crazier the print, usually the better the price. I just pulled out a cool looking Harley Davidson sweater out of our hometown Goodwill a couple weeks back. It's amazing what you can find when you're starting to dig through here. You'll find some vintage Nike stuff, which always does really well. You'll find some jerseys sometimes. There's all kinds of cool stuff. So even if you don't know exactly what you're looking for, just start swiping through the clothes. And like I mentioned earlier, it's just practice. So I'm definitely in my practicing phase with clothing right now. Another side tip too is every single Sunday they change the color of the tag. So every single article of clothing in here, well, not just clothing, but any product in the entire store, is going to have this little color right here. So these are blues. So if we come through here, that's red. See if we can find that's yellow, blue. So if you come in here and hunt down the purple tags, that's gonna be 50% off this week, and then on Sunday we'll change to a different color. Last but not least, that I check is going to be the glass case, which every store has one. Typically gonna be a little bit higher dollar items, not all the time though. Sometimes there's no rhyme or reason for what goes up there exactly, but I've already gone through, scanned everything, couldn't find much. So that gives you a basic layout of the store, kind of my personal route that I do. Again, there's so many different products, so many different categories that you can spend half of a day, if not all day, inside of one store. But now that you kind of see my route, I'm going to repeat the same process and probably hit another 4, 5, 6 stores. All right, so that's where we are at after 2 stores. And people always ask too, like, why do I buy the bigger stuff? Because I love the margins. It's a little extra work because you have to custom box a lot of the stuff, bubble wrap, it's extra time, but the margins to me make it worth it because I'm spending $10, $15, $20 per item, but my average sell price is between $70 and $80. So for me, that makes it worth it. This is when you know you're getting closer to Portland area because the prices go up. So that's a little side tip is if you were in big cities, try to venture out to the smaller towns because we never see prices like this in mine. I go about the higher price stuff is you have to have a higher sell price. So for me to spend 25 bucks, I would need to sell this for at least 90 to 100 for it to make sense. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna keep a mental note that this store has some really good items because these are selling between 60, 70, one of these is selling for 80. So what I can do is just remember that there's a bunch of this blue tag coming out. So next time that it's Sunday, I can check back to see what stores are being clearanced out 50%. So if blue tag pops up, I'll remember this store has some good stuff. So this is what makes thrifting all worth it. I just pulled this factory sealed out of the bottom of this basket that just came out. $7.99. Everything's new on it. VN 960 PC. There are no new condition ones that have sold. There is one listing for 68. And I always double check the Amazon price if I can't find much. Rank is not fantastic, so it's going to take a while to sell, but I'm turning $8 into potentially 50, say 40 to 50. So if I come in, this guy's listed at 68, but no sold, so I'd come in at like $49.99. Nice markup right there. Also, great brand to keep an eye out for. I only know this from watching Trista, Sorel, and I looked up the exact model of these. Which you can find right there. Look these guys up. Not a lot of comps to go by, but a pair did sell for $100 recently, so I'm gonna go based on that, and they're only $20 to buy. Little man is at home sick, so had to get him something new with tags. Gecko slippers. Also scored this guy for $10. Comps were about 40. Another category to keep an eye out for, board games. Believe it or not, people pay money for some of these, especially if you get factory sealed ones. I think the best one I did so far was early on, about two and a half years ago. I actually found a factory sealed Monopoly Beatles edition. So keep an eye out for different Monopoly editions. Some of those do really well. If anything, it's factory sealed. And then last is going to be retro stuff. So you can find board games in here from 1960s, 1970s. Some of the older stuff does really well. I will say, crappy part about board games, you gotta check for all the pieces. But the nice part is with eBay, you can actually buy a board game, and if you're missing any specific pieces, someone is usually parting them out on eBay, so you can buy the individual pieces, or you can buy an older set that's worth some money, and then you can part them out as well. Number 5, let's go make some money. So it might just be time of day. It's getting to be almost 6 o'clock p.m. and it also may be my location as well, but it's definitely duds. Prices got higher deeper I got into Portland area. Definitely lots more people in the stores after about 4 o'clock. Everyone's getting off work. Spoke too soon. Got a Samsung combo 15. Sells for about 60 to 65, which would leave about a 20 to 25 net profit. So this is definitely exciting. I've been wanting to get a stand that would hold my bubble wrap so it's portable around the office. And I was gonna buy one for like $150, $7.99, and that's gonna work out fine. All right, so that unfortunately concludes today. Obviously with little man getting sick on stop 1, had to go back home. Got a later start to the day than we would have liked, but still got through 6 Goodwills, got a decent amount of stuff back there. So what I'm going to do is go home tonight, chill with little man and the family, get to the office tomorrow, unload, do the final number, show you exactly how much we spent on everything, and roughly about what we should be able to profit. And welcome back to the office. This is most of what you guys saw in the first part of the video, and you guys saw the exact process. It's not that hard. You just go through, cross-check the model numbers with eBay sold listings, see what they're going for, see what you can buy it for. Have enough wiggle room in your pricing. We do free shipping, so we have to keep in mind what the shipping cost is gonna be. These smaller units like this that are usually smaller and lighter, these usually cost on average for us shipping from Oregon using FedEx Smart Post or FedEx Home Delivery is about $20 to $25 on average. Obviously, if it's shipping just a few states over, this will be closer to like $15 to $18, but in general, we try to factor in about $20 to $25 shipping on smaller stuff. As we get down to the larger, more heavier units, these can be upwards of about $30 to $35, sometimes $40 shipping if it's going all the way down to Florida or New York. But in those cases of knowing that ahead of time, I have to be able to sell this stuff for a lot higher of a price to overall have a better chance of an actual margin. So if I'm gonna sell this guy for $100 and I only pay 20 and I pay $30 in shipping, I just gotta make sure that ROI is gonna work for me. Doesn't work for everybody. Like I said, I love doing this kind of stuff. I think it's a type of market that a lot of people don't like because it is extra work and time that goes into it. But for the margins, I love doing this stuff. Now, I will say this was all sourced inside of the day that you guys saw in the beginning of the video. It's actually been 2 days since I sourced that stuff. I did go out again yesterday and picked up a few more items using the exact same method. So I'm gonna sit down and show you guys exactly what the total buy cost was for everything that you see here. All right, so for the sake of not making this video go on for another hour and individually breaking down each of these, I'm just gonna give you what the total buy cost was. And then what I'm going to do is on my eBay account, when these are listed, I'm going to use the custom SKU and I'm gonna tag each of these as a lot. And when all of these sell through, I'm going to make a detailed breakdown video of the actual results. I can go through and show you screenshot by screenshot what I think all of these will sell for, but it's all theory until the sale happens. So I'm gonna make a separate results video. So my total buy cost for all of this pile here, including the stuff that's behind that, was $397. Now with my sourcing method, you guys saw that my average buy cost for a lot of this stuff was about 20 bucks. My average sell price that I like to stick with is about $80. Now after my fees, my shipping, and my original buy cost is deducted, absolute bare minimum, I like to double my money. But more times than other, I'm actually seeing triple my money on a lot of this stuff. So I'm just gonna say bare minimum, if I have to drop all my prices to my rock bottom, I'm still gonna double my money on this. Those are the types of margins I like to play around with. This is not gonna be a business model for some people. You need to do trial and error and find what works for you. But for those of you interested in electronics, this is how I personally do it. I'm not saying it's the best way or the right way, it's just the way that I like to do it and it works for me so far. So with that being said, stay tuned for the results video of haul number 1, and this can easily turn into its own series where we do haul number 2 and 3 and 4, etc. This has been number 1. Thank you so much for tuning in. This has been Chaz from Side Hustle Pros. Be sure to subscribe to the channel. Stay tuned for future videos by hitting that notification bell button that will notify you every time that I go live, which is every single week, or when I post new videos like this. Have an awesome day. I'll see you guys later.